Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. Thank you for joining the live. For everyone that's already out there, difficult live again after Juventus beating us 2-0 on the weekend. This game started off so promising. Lozano scored within 7 seconds, but my God, guys, what a horrible performance. Totally outplayed by Verona. And before anyone says anything, guys, Verona are a very, very difficult team to play against. All right, Verona have a very good coach and they're doing extremely well in the league. The reason why I put Gattuso and Juric, which is Verona's coach, on the thumbnail was because I knew that this was going to be tactically a very interesting game and that Verona play a certain way that can hurt Napoli. And so with the thumbnail, I wanted to emphasize that, and that's exactly what happened to Napoli today. So guys, let's have a look at some of the things that you were saying on the chat before I go on to analysis, player ratings, showing you guys different moments of the game, looking at stats, all the usual fun stuff that we do here, even when Napoli loses. So let's see what you guys are saying. I'm sure some of you are extremely frustrated, just as I am. Just get a bit more comfortable in my chair. Anthony Giampaolo is saying absolutely unacceptable. First comment. These guys saw both Milan teams drop points yesterday, and this is the effort that they thought was necessary today. Ridiculous. Guys, I thought when we scored in 7 seconds, I thought that's it. They are pumped for this game, and they did start off with a good 10 minutes. And then after that, it was nothing. I don't understand how Napoli thought that the game was just over after 10 minutes or 10 seconds even. Some players definitely switched off after 10 seconds. So for me, totally ridiculous, guys. And as I am reading some of these comments, guys, make sure that you also, you know what it is, smash the like button if you will like the video. That's obviously coming up. I haven't done much of it yet, but smash it if you like it. So let's see what else you guys are saying. Matteo Casale is saying, how is it possible? Just absolutely disgraceful. Yeah, this is a game where we could have gone 4 back of Inter, and now we are down in 6th. What else needs to be said, guys? This was a game that Napoli could have been -6 from Milan, who are first, with us having a game in hand. So potentially this could have been us being -3. But I said it on Twitter yesterday. I said, guys, I'm seeing too much hype. There was way too many people thinking we had Verona in the bag. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, guys. Verona is one of the toughest games of the season, guys. Not just because of Juric and how Verona play, but just because of Napoli and Verona, their rivalry. Because, yeah, there is a bit of a rivalry between the two sets of fans. And, I mean, to go there without fans and still lose, that's just crazy. Just crazy. Let's go a bit to some of the more recent comments. ID Beats is saying, Hizai, I've got to say, is even worse than Rui. I think Hizai was one of the few players today that at least was showing a little bit of effort. Towards the end, he was taking at least a few shots, which, ended up being better than Insigne's shots. So, can you fault Hizai too much? We don't need new personnel. We need new tactics, guys. We need a coach that is able to read games better than how Gattuso. But it's not even about reading games in the moment. It's about how the team was set up. There were fundamental issues with how the team was set up that I was flabbergasted when I saw some of these things, because I noticed where Napoli was failing, and soon enough, 10 minutes later, that's exactly how Verona punished us. Absolutely disgusted with Gattuso that he didn't do his research on Verona, or that the players weren't following his instructions. Absolutely disgusted with our tactical approach today. And let me go straight into actually the pictures of the game. There's 38 of you, so that's enough people to get into the game. Maybe I'll take one more comment, wait for a few more people to join, but we will go over all the different moments in the game and the tactics behind it. Some of the comments that you guys are saying before that is, age-ways, wasn't it Zielinski who gave away the third goal though? No, that was Mertens. Zielinski passed it to Mertens. Mertens lost the ball. DS10 saying Napoli deserve a coach. It does seem that over the last 2 months, Napoli have not been getting coached well. I made a video about Napoli need to confirm Gattuso. Literally, since I made that video, Gattuso stopped doing all the good things that he was doing. It must be said, we did go through a really rough patch with injuries. We did go through a really rough patch with players like Osimhen and Mertens being out. Fundamental players. So it was difficult for Napoli. Koulibaly was out, Demme was out. So over the last 2 months, it was difficult for Gattuso, but still, what we saw today does not depend on who was on the field, but it was completely Gattuso's fault. Completely Gattuso's fault today. IDB is saying Gattuso was a stopgap after Ancelotti's antics and whatever he did, but he isn't the solution I see long term. That's a very good thought, or a very, I would say almost true way to see things. As in, look guys, Napoli a year ago, we went through a mutiny which I have never seen any other club go through. Okay, you've got coach against president, against players, against fans. It was a mess, guys. If I was making videos about Napoli at the time, I would have no idea how to even explain what was happening. Okay, it was such a messed up situation that we had to bring in a coach, a decent coach, but a coach that is a Gennaro Gattuso, one that can rally the players all back together, because even between the players there were different groups forming. So we needed someone that the fans could get behind, because they saw that he was putting in a lot of grinta. The players could get revitalized with his energy. But past that stage, we need to have, I think, a coach that... I don't want to judge Gattuso too early, because he is doing well. He is, only a few points away from top spot. But we do need someone that, at least over the last 2 months, is doing better. Because, guys, a lot of this started off with Gattuso not renewing his contract. And that's been the point where Napoli dropped off. The talks of his contract, when we were doing well, we beat Atalanta 4-1, all that stuff. And then he hasn't renewed, and Napoli just started playing really badly. So if Gattuso's head is not in the game, then please walk out. If your head is not in the game, walk out. If you don't want to be part of this team, walk out. But for you to basically not prepare games like you're doing now, that's unacceptable. So that's my take on it. I think he's a good coach, but maybe his head's not really in it. And some of the conferences he's had, we're going to take a look at what he said today, or what he's going to say. Some of the conferences that he's had lately have been disgusting, in my opinion. Just taking all the pressure off himself, blaming it on random things. Anyways, let's go on to what happened in the game, guys. Let's go on to what happened in the game. So Napoli started off extremely well, with Lozano getting a goal. Beautiful pass by Demme, forward pass within 6 seconds, and Lozano found himself in a very, very good spot to slot the ball home. But how did this happen, guys? This wasn't luck. Napoli started off really, really well. This happened because of Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo getting into a perfect area from the very start. It pulled away a Verona midfielder who was playing as basically left back when the game started. This created a bigger gap between him and Di Marco, which is the third of Verona center backs, and isolated him. Once that player was isolated, it was a one-on-one between him and Lozano. Then Lozano, yes, he got lucky that Di Marco obviously messed up, but it was all calculated thanks to Di Lorenzo isolating Di Marco, and Lozano going in behind. And it seemed like in the first 20 minutes, Napoli were in charge. There was a lot of midfield that Verona was not covering. It seemed like they were missing Amrabat this season. There was really no one at Verona that was, controlling that midfield. And I thought, guys, Napoli's in control of this. But then suddenly the game changed. And you have to think that when there's all this space in the middle, there's no reason to have this many Napoli players forward and for us to be so central. As you can see, Verona could very easily pass the ball down to the wing. So they're going to pass it down to Di Marco. And when the ball comes out on the wing on the left, all of a sudden you have the number 20 on the bottom of the page, Zaccagni. Now, all those players missing in the middle, what happened? They all just they were waiting up at the front. So what would happen is Napoli would be pressing wrong, bad pressing, leaving a lot of space in the middle, or using up a lot of space in the middle where no Verona player was, and then completely forgetting that there were 4 Verona players attacking the box at all times. At all times. And we were always with 1 player less or 2 players less than Verona. In this case, nothing happened, but it could have been a goal. 10 minutes later, this happened. Obviously, 4 players again. Koulibaly and Maksimovic, they're blocking their player. But you've got 2 of them that are completely free. You've got Bakayoko that hasn't chased back. Lazy. Just like he didn't chase back in this one. So you've got Bakayoko that didn't chase back. Lozano is a bit late. Di Lorenzo is not in the picture. And obviously it falls to Di Marco, who is a center back, guys. A center back. Falls to Di Marco and he scores. And it seemed, exactly, in the comments you guys are saying, where is Di Lorenzo? Where was he? Well, we were pressing like idiots, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. We were pressing. Everybody was forward. Caught Di Lorenzo out. Di Lorenzo was with Zaccagni. Was probably with Zaccagni at that point. Anyways, no, Zaccagni is actually free at the bottom there. So that's how Verona scored their goals. Just too many players forward and Napoli not transitioning well. In the second half, Napoli showed good intention. It was 1-1. We had so many players going into the box, but we just squandered every single opportunity that we had, guys. I mean, this shot from Insigne, that wasn't deflected. That was, I'm sorry for any, passengers on a plane that hit some turbulence. That wasn't the wind. That was just, Lorenzo's shot that hit your plane. I apologize on his behalf. And then we see Verona with their second goal. So let's go back to that actually. We see that Zaccagni has the ball. Look at Koulibaly. Koulibaly is on Zaccagni. Our transition was horrible. There's no reason why Koulibaly is so out of position. There's no reason why he's occupying that space going one-on-one with Zaccagni. That needs to be Di Lorenzo and Lozano taking care of those 2 players. And Koulibaly needs to stay on his line, guys. This is a problem with Koulibaly. Yes, he's one of the best defenders ever, but this is a problem that he has. He goes out of line way too much. And, if he gets the ball, great. But if he's up against a player like Zaccagni, 1 out of 5 times, he will get the ball past you. That's exactly what happened. Such a nice touch to the Verona player coming in with a run. Bakayoko loses him. The guy's running past Bakayoko at this point. Maksimovic is flat-footed. You can really see here that he's flat-footed. His body position he's just not switched on. And they score the second goal. And unfortunately, Meret has no chance. Meret made some good saves in this game, but Meret had no chance with the goals that Verona scored. And then the third goal, Zielinski passes it to Mertens. Mertens passes it back to him, but they don't find each other. Zaccagni is so alert, gets to the ball, drives down, and then this is where Koulibaly messes up, because Koulibaly, he cuts inside trying to double up on Zaccagni, not realizing that he's leaving a player free next to him. And this is a lack of trust in Maksimovic and just very poor awareness, I think, from Koulibaly. He needed to be in a better position than that. He cut inside, messed up, and then there was a scramble. Ball ended up getting thrown into the box again, and Zaccagni was again free. And Di Lorenzo here just completely is not aware. There's one guy he needs to mark, guys. There's one guy. There's no one else in that box near Di Lorenzo except Zaccagni, their most dangerous player, and he's 3 meters away from him. You can't even try to challenge for the ball there, and obviously Verona scored. But guys, what a player he is, okay? He is honestly one of the best players that I've seen play against Napoli in a very, very long time. And there's rumors that Napoli want to get him, and I really hope they do, because he is a special talent, guys. What a very, very good player. And let's see what you guys are saying in the comments after all that. Let me remind you guys that if you've liked that analysis, then please smash that like button. Subscribe if it's your first time here. If it's not your first time and you're not yet subscribed, what are you doing, man? Subscribe. Do that. And I'm going to read some of your comments in the meantime, see what you guys have to say about that analysis. So Alessandro Di Marco is saying Osimhen has a long way to go before being worth 80 million. Guys, let's not judge Osimhen today. He just came back from 10 weeks off. He was still, guys, he had a tutor on his shoulder protecting him, and he had to have like this kind of like sponge in his hand that he had to press to make sure that he had feeling in his arm to like activate the nerves. So, you know, Osimhen was thrown in the deep end today. So I'm not even going to judge his performance like I would judge everybody else. I think it's actually great that he's even on the field. What else are we saying? The Cup Review is saying, should we have a formation change? Guys, I honestly don't think it's a matter of formation, because I don't know actually, because with a 4-3-3, maybe we take away a striker and we are more defensively solid, but I'm afraid like that will compromise our attacks at the moment, that we're not necessarily scoring goals for fun. Today's goal came because of a Verona mistake. So it's difficult. I wouldn't do that. Osimhen's coming back. I think if we had to change formation, it should have happened a month ago, 2 months ago, because Osimhen's been out 3 months. So maybe we should have done that earlier, but definitely not now that Osimhen is starting to come back. We need him to get minutes, and when he plays, we need to have that 4-2-3-1, which was working so well for us at the start of the season. Rico25 is saying we're not getting Champions League. Guys, let's go take a look at actually the table right now, because let's see how Napoli are doing. So yes, this is the match stats. Let me just go down here to the table. And guys, take a look at this missed opportunity. We are 6th with 34 points. We could have had 36 and jumped above Juventus. We could have been just 6 points away from Milan with a game in hand. Instead, we are 9 points behind. And obviously, we still got a game in hand, but it's against Juventus. And right now, we are struggling. We lost against them. We lost badly against Verona. This is the first time that I think we lost the game, and I'm thinking 100% we deserve to lose. In all the other losses, it has always been like, oh yeah, but they were a bit lucky, or they just had a few chances. It was the first time that I think Napoli really deserved to lose. And it's going to be tough getting Champions League football, guys, because let's say we tie the game against Juventus, we're still at 35, we're still 6th spot. We literally have to win the game to get back into that top 4. So as things stand, we are the odd ones out. I do think though that teams like Milan, I don't think they're going to improve more than what they're doing now at the moment. So Milan's going to drop. Whether they drop out of the top 4, that's unlikely. You've got Roma, inconsistent. Atalanta, they're starting to do well again, but can they hold it when Champions League starts? You've got Juventus that I think are only going to improve from here. I think the title is actually between Juventus and Inter. Guys, mark my words. It's going to be Juventus against Inter for the title. Inter, they had a bad game as well, but I see them as having the strongest team. Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, they're 2 strikers. They're not very injury prone, so I do see them going all the way with Juventus improving. And Napoli need to sort it out. Let's see with Osimhen if we can salvage something, guys. What are you guys saying about this thing? Roberto Luongo is saying 6th place seems more realistic of how we play. Yep, if you're alternating between 6-0s and losing 3-1s, you're unlikely going to get Champions League football. Obviously, we deserve being in the top 6 for sure, but definitely it's going to be hard. We do need Roma, Atalanta, Juventus to drop points and start playing, badly if we are going to get that top 4, because our form right now is not good enough to sustain that. ID Beat, what is Gattuso's game plan in attack? Okay, we have a good defense, but what do we do in attack? Do we have passing pattern? Do we have a 1-2 combination? Guys, the thing is we don't. We rely on Insigne, we rely on Zielinski, we rely on all these different people. But in reality, guys, we don't have a plan. It's all very individual. And, it's obviously when we do score 2 or 3 goals, then we can sometimes win by 6. But that's because the game's already over, right? But when the game is really tight, it is quite difficult for Napoli to do anything. That should change when Osimhen gets back on the field. I think, Gattuso planned out this whole season and the retreat, which was basically the only training time he had, to play with Osimhen, to play in the 4-2-3-1. When you take that element away, then obviously everything you've worked the whole summer for goes to waste. Now, that's not an excuse. That's just probably what happened. A real good coach would have adapted a bit better to that. Cleto is saying, do you think Roma will be top 4? I think top 4 is going to be Inter, Juve, Milan, and Atalanta. But we will see. And, if Napoli can get in there, if Napoli can do even better than top 4, then let's see. But I think Roma are very similar to Napoli in the sense that they're so unpredictable, so it is what it is. Adam Miller saying Osimhen needs to improve and we have a chance at Champions League. If he's scoring goals, it opens up the other players. Exactly. If we see some of the games that I've reviewed, for example, against Atalanta, where we thrashed them 4-1, that's exactly what was happening. But guys, against Verona, if we look at the stats here, look at this. 14 shots for Verona. That's, I think, the highest number of shots that a team has had against us in the league so far. The passing accuracy from both teams was quite bad, actually, today. It was the first time that I'm commenting something that both teams are below 80%. Not a lot of passes either, only about 900 in total. So it was a game that was very stop and go, not very fluid, but very dynamic. A lot of tackles. Napoli players were going at Zaccagni. He got taken out 3, 4, 5, 6 times. It was like how other players treat Lozano. That's when you know a player is good. But Zaccagni still made his magic work for Verona, and it was a tough game for Napoli for sure. And let's go to the player ratings, because as you can see, there's a lot of yellows, there's a lot of red, and very, very few greens over here, guys. There's only 3 players, I think, that played an all-right game. And I'm talking about an all-right game. I'm not even talking about a good game. So you've got Demme with a 6.5, Lozano with a 6.5, and Isai with a 6.5. Now let me explain those first. So 6.5 for Lozano. Obviously, he got the goal. Right place, right time. That's great. He also was the most dangerous person on the field for Napoli. However, there were 1 or 2 half chances that maybe he should have taken, and maybe he was a bit at fault for being out of position on Verona's first and second goal. He basically did not cover back in time, so we've got a 6.5 to Lozano. Otherwise, it would have been a bit higher if it wasn't for Verona's goals. For Demme, we've got a 6.5 for him. Vertical pass to Lozano. Great intention. You know, he gets stuck in there. He runs a lot. So I thought it was a good display from him and Hizai as well. I mean, guys, we resorted to Hizai being the one that was taking shots at the end of the game. You can't really ask him to score. You can't really ask him to assist. But what you can ask of Hizai is don't concede goals on your side. Check. And try to help out as much as possible. Check. So Hizai did his game. We've got a few players that had an average performance. Politano, Osimhen, I don't want to judge him too much. I'll put him a 6. Meret conceded 3 goals, but saved us at least twice. And Zielinski, he did what he could, but around him, it was garbage. Around Zielinski was garbage. Petagna, garbage. Insigne, garbage. Bakayoko, garbage of garbage. Koulibaly, garbage. Maximovic, garbage. Di Lorenzo, I thought he had an alright game. I had him as a 6, 6.5, and then he lost Zaccagni on the third goal. So, you know, there was just so much off about Napoli's performance, and Gattuso, he needs to get a 5 for this, and I'm being generous here. Guys, I'm being generous. The only reason I'm giving him a 5 and not something like a 4 is because at least he made the right substitutions. He messed up the game plan. Fair enough. That happens. But at least he made the right substitutions. He risked it. He brought on Mertens, brought on Politano, brought on Osimhen. He didn't wait until the 75th minute. You know, at the hour mark, he got Insigne out of the field. That takes a bit of courage. You know, he's a player that got slaughtered over the last few days, had a bad game, and, you know, took him off. Takes courage because you're going to kill that player mentally even more so. So, you know, that's the only thing that saved him. The fact that he took away Insigne, the fact that he took away Bakayoko at one point, took away Petagna. What I don't understand is why he took away Demme. Thought he was playing well. And yeah, it was just a very difficult game for Napoli, and I'm waiting for Gattuso to do his press conference because we're going to be analyzing that as always live here. And guys, thank you for everyone that is smashing that like button. These videos are getting a lot more attention from YouTube because of that. So as a reminder, smash that like button. Let's get this community growing even more, and hopefully when Napoli win, we can all celebrate together. Maximus is saying that Verona defense was for real, could not get into the box today. Guys, that Verona defense was tremendous. They had one mistake in the game on the 6th second, and after that, they didn't let us do anything else. You know, Juric played such a fantastic way, basically blocked us off, put players in the box. Not the most pretty of football, but effective. And he caught us off. He basically said, you know what, Napoli, you can have the midfield. I'll let you have the midfield. We'll take over the sides. And then when you don't expect it, we'll just get 4 players into the box every single time. Penn Browning is saying, has Napoli improved since Carletto left? Yes, I think we actually have. I was a lot more disappointed in Napoli's games a year ago. Much more. There was, you know, a year ago, there was a lack of desire from everyone. Players were out of position, and you know, it can seem like it's bleak now, but guys, last year we were miles away from the top of the table. At least this year we've had some good games to cheer about. We had Verona, we had Atalanta, we had Roma, we had a few good ones. We had Fiorentina. With Ancelotti, it was more bad than good. This time it's sort of like 50-50, and we did win the Coppa Italia with Gattuso, so it is a bit better. And with Ancelotti, there was just a problem of the players themselves not getting along well with each other. I don't think we have that problem nowadays anymore. Antonino Di Peso is saying Gattuso have to use Elmas in the right role. Guys, that's another thing. Elmas, he gets brought into all these different roles. He doesn't get any consistency. Sometimes he plays where Insigne is. Sometimes he plays where Zielinski is. Sometimes he's playing where, Demme and Bakayoko are. It's really, really difficult for Elmas to get to grips with where he needs to play. He's not getting a lot of game time either, but it must be said, when he is playing, he's not showing very much. It's a bit different from last year, where he wasn't playing, but when he did, he was changing games. But again, it's very difficult for him to come into a team that's struggling, come into a team that is not playing well, and expect him to be, and we expect him to be the savior. I think we need to start playing him from the start when we have a full strength team, and that way the pressure's a bit off of him to produce. Because if you play him against Empoli and around him you have Lobotka, Petagna and other substitutes, it's very hard for him to, as a youngster, take on that responsibility and perform well. But if you put players like Mertens and Osimhen with him in the future, then maybe there's a bit less responsibility on his back, maybe with Zielinski playing behind him or something like that. But Gattuso does need to change something. ID Beats is saying, I definitely think we're at least trying. Under Ancelotti it was lax. Exactly. So that's answering, I think, Penn Browning's question. Alessandro De Marco is saying, only the unity of the team has improved since Scarletto, not much else. Guys, we won a trophy, let's not forget that, and we did have some better performances. Age-wise is saying, it really went from me idolizing Insigne to hoping someone offers 60 million for him. Guys, there's not going to be many clubs out there that are going to offer 60 million for Insigne unless he has a fantastic end of the season or a fantastic Euro. But I think most clubs realize that Insigne is a difficult player, and I think that some clubs realize that in that position they can definitely get better for 60 million. Left wing, a left winger cutting onto the right foot is probably the most useful or the most common position you see kids playing at nowadays. It's a position that it's so easy to make it to the headlines. You can definitely find better players than Insigne at the moment. You just take a look at Verona's Zaccagni. Zaccagni plays in that position, goes on the left, cuts inside. Why would you spend 60 million for Insigne when Napoli were offering 15 million for Zaccagni over the Christmas period, guys? And obviously his rating has probably just jumped up to 30 as a minimum. So Rico is saying, do you think Koulibaly will leave if we don't get Champions League football? Yes, I do think that's a real possibility for several reasons. One, his personal ambition. You have to remember Koulibaly is still one of the top 50 players in the world right now. Definitely maybe top 10 center backs. Sometimes he has bad games. Now he's getting a bit more injured than before, so it's difficult to say exactly where he is in the top 10 of defenders. Possibly top 5, even top 3. On his best day, definitely he's top 3. But he's got ambition to win titles, to play Champions League finals. So if he's been with us 6-7 years, if we can't provide that for him, he is going to leave. So that's reason number 1, his ambition. Reason number 2, Napoli need money from somewhere if we don't get into the Champions League. Obviously, it might happen with selling Fabian. But if I'm a club, if I'm Madrid or Barcelona, and I look at Fabian's past performances, I'm thinking, I'm not sure I want this guy in my team. He got exposed at Napoli for being slow. So you got to hope that he has a good Euro maybe, and then you can sell him for 50, 60 million. But, if not Fabian, if not someone, then, it's a bit difficult. And thirdly, it's his salary. Guys, Koulibaly earns 6 million a year. and that's that's after taxes. That means that De Laurentiis, Napoli's president, is actually dishing out of his own pocket 12 million a year for Koulibaly. 50% of that the state takes it, and then 50% of that goes to Koulibaly. So that's very, very expensive for De Laurentiis. It's, if you sell Koulibaly, let's say for 50 million, that's 50 million plus 12 million every year of his salary that you're saving up. So it does make financial sense to sell him if we don't get Champions League football. Guys, Pen Browning, listen, man. Napoli are good at making pizza. Great, guys. Let's keep this chat civil. If you're not even a Napoli fan and you think you're coming here and like disrupting things, guys, honestly, I'm not even gonna give you any more attention. So, and guys, just ignore people if they're being a bit stupid on the chat. If anything, you just clicked on my video, gave me an extra view, so thank you. Anyways, Maximus is saying Ancelotti with his Jamie, I won't bring them up again. Yeah, I know you like James Rodriguez. Guys, if we had James Rodriguez, maybe it would have been different with Ancelotti, maybe not. But there was something that was more fundamentally wrong there than just Ancelotti not getting one of his players, because Ancelotti got Lozano. Lozano was one of his players, and we still ended up messing up the good part of last season where Ancelotti was there. So Ancelotti, it's not that he didn't get any player that he wanted or the team was bad. It was a good team. He got Lozano and he got other players that he wanted. So it wasn't because of a transfer market issue that we didn't do well with Ancelotti. And guys, it's not even worth going back on that because the team did improve after Ancelotti. So, we won the Coppa Italia. We would not have won the Coppa Italia with Ancelotti. We would have not been even in the top 8, I don't think, with Ancelotti, because the team was broken. So that's just a matter of fact, in my opinion. I do think Ancelotti, though, is a good coach. He's doing well at Everton, and it just maybe didn't really fit his style at Napoli. And I don't think the fans really liked him that much. Guys, so Gattuso has started his press conference. I'm going to be reading out and translating what he's saying. We can discuss that in the chat. Make sure that if you're liking this review, then smash that like button, because doctors say it makes you feel better after Napoli loses. So let's see what Gattuso is saying. So they asked him what happened today, and Gattuso is saying, in the first half, we tried to be vertical. That was the game plan, and we even did that well. In the second half, we never accomplished that, and we hurt ourselves with losing too many balls. I think he's referencing when Mertens lost the ball for Verona's third goal. If you go and play against them physically, that's their game, not ours, and obviously they will outclass us physically. And that's kind of what happened. We tried to go in there physically against Zaccagni, against some of other players that they had, but we kept losing out on those challenges, or when we did go into them, the ref would call a free kick, and we needed to try to pass the ball around them rather than try to dribble them one-on-one, because when you've got Insigne being closed down by two players and he's still trying to get past them and all they have to do is shoulder him away, that's you messed up that game plan. You needed to find a way to triangulate a lot better. Then they ask, you guys, sorry guys, let me just get a drink of water. They asked, was it an issue that you guys played the Super Cup against Juventus? Did that affect you? And Gattuso is saying it would be too easy to think of that as an alibi. Yes, we did play a few more games than Verona, but at the first difficulty. This team is not able to read the dangers, and it's also my responsibility. Finally, he's saying it's also his responsibility because he's always said this team cannot read the danger. This team does not sniff the danger. This team this team that, this team this. It's the first time he's saying it's also my fault. So at least he admitted that. The COD reviewed is saying we need to practice the scenario of being a goal under, put some fire underneath the players, get some urgency installed in their mind, guys. We need to. The players need to realize a game in 90 minutes is a bit like a 90-minute game. This is where I'm gonna get philosophical, guys. But a 90-minute game is a bit like life. You're gonna have ups and downs. Anything can happen. Things get thrown at you. You concede an own goal. Your captain gets sent off. A player needs to go to the bathroom. That literally has happened before. Not to Napoli, but it happened to like Sergio Ramos. Things happen in a game. It's so unpredictable. So the players need to realize that just because they're better than Verona does not mean that you're going to have it easy. It's a game, a bit like life. Everything can happen to you. You need to react. You need to stay level-headed. You need to think, I'm good enough to play my style of football. I'm good enough to keep a level head no matter what happens around me. All of a sudden, we mess up 3 passes, or we concede a stupid corner, or we concede a goal, and we start trembling with fear that we're going to concede a goal or that we're going to lose the game and we're going to drop points. Guys, this is what Napoli is lacking. They're lacking mentality. They're lacking self-belief. They're lacking confidence. They're lacking all those things I've talked about in a previous video called What is the Missing Piece at Napoli? Because it's true, every single time one or two things wrong happen to us, then we can't react, we freeze, we tremble, and we end up losing the game because it's hard to score goals and do nice things when half your brain is in panic mode. So it's just bad. And if Gattuso can't get this team working in that way, then we do need someone either behind the scenes that can help these players, or we need a different coach to light a fire again in these players. But then after that, I think we need to revolutionize a bit of the team. You've got Insigne, Mertens, all these players that, yes, they're good, but maybe they're getting a bit too comfortable at Napoli at the moment. Thinking that they've got basically their starting 11 spot always there. It's completely wrong. They asked Gattuso, continuing with his press conference, this team is very discontinuous, and he's saying, yep, it's what I said before. We don't have a lot of continuity. We talk a lot about formations. You guys love talking about formations, so let's see what Gattuso says. We talk a lot about formations, but I think that the problem is more about how we interpret the game in the 90 minutes rather than the players on the field and their positions. At times we do things that are good, at times we don't. So this is what Gattuso's take on this is. That's basically him saying, I don't think it's a problem of 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. It's more about our mental approach and how we read the game and how we react to different scenarios in the game. Then they ask him how Lozano played, and he's saying Lozano had a positive game. He's been doing positive things for a while now. He's always doing well in the 1-against-1, and he basically gives us that numerical advantage every time. Many players have played beneath their expectations of themselves. Looking at the table, we're still all there, however, and we can still play for something very important. But I think that we need mental continuity to get the results. So Gattuso is understanding the problem that we have a mental issue in this team, and they've asked him about what he thought of Insigne, and he's saying he is the captain. I'm happy with him, and I'm happy that the fans are still with him. Up until now, he's given us a great hand. He was not very brilliant today, but I think that he needs to flip the page because we need the best Insigne going forward. So guys, this was Gattuso's press conference. One thing about Gattuso's press conferences that I like is that he's admitted to the mental issue that Napoli have. He needs to take a step back and realize, why does this team have a mental issue? As the coach, shouldn't I be the one that give this team a mental footprint? If he can't do that, and he's been talking about this for a while now, then he's not the man for the job. He needs to admit that. If he doesn't want to lose a spot, then he can say to the president, look, I need backup within the club. We need to work on these players. We need something. But he's got to find a solution, because if the problem is mental, then it's actually much harder to solve than something that's just about, a few injuries or a few players out of position or something like that. If it's mental, and I do think it's mental, that's quite difficult, and it might need an overhaul of players, and it might need a change of structure within the club, with a person added into the club that focuses purely on the player's mental aspect. And if there already is one doing that, then he's not doing a very good job. Let's see what else you guys are saying. ID Beats is saying, I'm thinking we need a massive turnaround, but doing it in mid-season will be absolutely suicidal, so Gattuso stays for me. I think so too. I think we're still within a shot of Champions League football. If Osimhen comes back and starts firing in the goals and making the team play well, maybe Napoli will recover nicely. Maxim is saying, what is the tax rate in Italy? Is it favorable to football players? Guys, the tax rate in Italy, it's quite interesting. So for a player that has been living in Italy for more than 2 years, then the tax rate is 50%. So Koulibaly's case, he earns 6 million a year, but De Laurentiis pays 12 million. For players coming in that have not lived in Italy before or over the last 2 years, the tax rate is much more favorable. So for example, in the case of Osimhen, he's come in recently. So if he earns 4.5 million, then De Laurentiis is not paying 8 or 9. He's probably paying something like 6 or 6.5. So it's much more favorable for new players, which is why it's also beneficial at this point to maybe sell some of the players that have been here a while, that are on a higher salary, and getting new players, because you can pay them. They would be receiving the same amount, but the money coming out of your accounts is a lot less. So it would make sense, in my opinion, to start investing in new players. So there we go, a bit of finance as well at Napoli Talk, guys. We do everything: life advice, finance, and football sometimes. Vinicius is saying Benitez sucks. I think someone maybe in the chat was saying about getting Benitez back, because Benitez is free again. He terminated his contract with the Chinese club Dalian that he was for. I think Benitez had a good first year for Napoli. The team was so off balance though. In fact, at times this Napoli team does remind me a bit about Benitez, because it is completely off balance. I mean, we can just look at some of the goals that we conceded and how we don't have enough players getting back in time and covering the Verona attacks. So, it's just a badly positioned team, but also mentally the problem is very, very large. Alessandro De Marco is saying Napoli lack mentality, and that's the biggest issue. A manager has won titles will begin to improve that mentality. That is a good point. So Gattuso hasn't won a title apart from the Coppa Italia that he won with Napoli. Obviously, he could have had the Super Cup if he had won against Juve, which he didn't. But at the end of the day, Gattuso as a player has won. He's won everything: Serie A, Champions League, World Cup, guys. He's a World Cup winner. How many coaches right now that don't cost 3 times as much as Gattuso? How many of them can say they've won as much trophies as Gattuso? Okay, he hasn't done it as a coach, but he does have coaching experience. He's been coaching for 9 years now. And I don't think that necessarily winning a trophy equals experience. I disagree with that. I think, there's so many things that influence what a coach needs to do. If Napoli's problem is mental, it's more about how he handles players, how he handles the press, how he handles fans, rather than how many trophies he has. We saw Ancelotti had 1 million trophies as a player and as a coach, and he did worse than Gattuso, in my opinion. So I don't think the two are necessarily related, guys. Also because Gattuso was doing a very good job at Milan, I think, before he came to Napoli. And you've got to rate a coach based on what they produce on the field, how much they improve teams. And, if you're taking Verona from mid-table to, fighting for the top 7-8 positions, you're a very good coach, such as Juric. If you, are taking a team that's already established, like Man City, and just making it a bit better, like Guardiola, are you a good coach? You've got $1 bazillion to spend, and the team's already there for you. So it's difficult. It's a difficult one. I don't think necessarily a coach that has won much means much, because it depends what team he had before. Ale Tamburino is saying Gattuso, they were good players, but not enough for the coaches. Yeah, I think he was talking about the situation with Milan. IDB is saying true, especially after bottling the Coppa to Spezia. I think he's saying about what team he wants to support now after Napoli. Guys, don't lose faith in Napoli, and especially don't bother going and supporting Roma. Nothing against Roma, but I think it's even tougher to be a Roma fan than a Napoli fan. Trust me. At least with Napoli we win a few cups every once in a while. Roma, I feel like it's just disappointments. But nothing against Roma in particular, guys. Make sure you're smashing that like button. By the way, so many of you have done that recently. Thank you to everyone that has. And subscribe if you want to see more of Napoli Talk, and join the Twitter and Instagram page. All that is sliding down somewhere below right here. So what else are we saying? Napoli Boss Gaming saying, I know what you mean, but maybe they will win one of everything. Okay, so you guys are still talking about Roma. Guys, I think for the people that have come a bit late, I'm just going to keep the screen up on for you to see how the players played. So just to summarize very briefly, to not go over it again, Lozano did well, Demme did well, Isai did what he could. None of the goals came from his side, and he did what he could in attack. Everybody else just had a really bad game, really bad. And go back to about 10 minutes in when I explained all the different tactics and all the things that were happening to understand how Napoli failed today's game. Stefano saying we miss Maurizio Sarri. And guys, Sarri didn't win anything. Sarri didn't win anything before Napoli. His first trophy was with Chelsea. So, why would Chelsea get a coach that hasn't won anything and then he won? So the fact that someone didn't win something before doesn't mean anything. I think you gotta judge someone based on how they can develop a team and what their starting point is, because it would be unfair. It would be unfair. And Klopp, before going to Dortmund, didn't win anything. Before going to Liverpool, he won just a few things, and they happened to be when Bayern were having bad seasons. So it's as if Gattuso had won or Ancelotti had won if Juventus just had a really poor season. So it was more of Bayern Munich not being at the same level that they usually are than Klopp doing, too much of a good job at Dortmund, in my opinion. Then obviously he went to Liverpool and transformed that team. But what I'm saying is he didn't win much at Dortmund, and he wasn't judged off his trophies as much as what he did with the players like Royce, Götze, Aubameyang, that team was fantastic to watch, guys. And as Adam Miller is pointing out in the chat, Juve got thrashed by Fiorentina a few weeks ago, guys. Udinese tied against Inter. We lost against Verona. Roma won in the 92nd minute against Spezia. Guys, this Serie A is crazy. And there's no easy games. And us to lose against Verona, honestly, I'm mad because we were winning 1-0. But if you had asked me this morning, would I be happy with a draw? I would take it. Honest, guys. Honest. And I'm not saying this because we lost. I'm saying if you had asked me this morning, would you be happy with a draw? I would sign that right now. Because Juric plays a really intelligent football. You're playing away to Verona. And your biggest rivals for the title did not win. So, to be fair, a draw wouldn't have been bad out of all weekends to get a draw. But, the fact that we lost is bad. But what I'm saying is it's a difficult season for everyone. It's crazy. We have random games in the middle of the year. A Super Cup in the end of January. Usually it's over the Christmas break. It's all messed up. We don't, players off for COVID, players off for international injuries like Osimhen. It's a weird season, guys. It's a weird season, but not just for us. It's a weird season for everyone, and a lot can happen. And the players have said that recently in the different interviews. They've said, Gattuso keeps telling them, we got to keep trying, we got to keep going because it's a weird season. Things can happen. So, but I think maybe the real winners of today's weekend are definitely Juve, Roma, and Inter. Inter actually, they took a point off Milan at the top, and that's huge. That's huge for them because I think that their biggest rival is Juve, and they're still a few points clear of Juve. So it's interesting. It's an interesting league, and you can see this in every league, guys. It's not just Italy. In France, that usually PSG runs away with it. It's the same thing. In the EPL, it's the same thing. You've got in Spain, Atletico running away with it, sure. But, in most places, it's very tight because you're getting random results because of COVID, because of the weird schedule that the players have to go through. So let's see, guys. We're not even halfway. So we have 18 games. Everybody else is halfway. But if last year, considering where we were last year, we were 8th last year. If last year you told me halfway into the season, you're still within a shot, technically, of the title, halfway point. You're less than 10 points behind. And we could be 6 points behind if we win our game in hand. So, it's not that bad of a season, guys. It's not that bad. Alessandro De Marco is saying, if we're comparing Gattuso with Klopp, then we are deluded. No, guys, I'm not comparing Gattuso with Klopp. Klopp is so much better. But I was replying to someone saying, we need someone that has won trophies. And I'm saying, well, how many trophies did Klopp win before going to Dortmund? How many trophies? In fact, before he went to Dortmund, Mainz got relegated. Mainz got relegated with Klopp. And then he went to Dortmund. Klopp was about to relegate Dortmund. Let me repeat that. Klopp was about to relegate Dortmund in his final season. They were in the bottom 3. He got sacked. But is that what Liverpool thought of? The fact that he won very little with Mainz, or that he was getting, or that he didn't win much with Dortmund? No, they saw the potential in Klopp, and I think Gattuso does have potential. I think he does. It's just so let's not say he's useless because he hasn't won before, but he definitely does need to improve, and it's difficult. He's got little issues with players like Insigne and stuff like that not really performing, and any club when their star man doesn't perform, it's tough on them. If Ronaldo doesn't perform for Juve, Pirlo loses. If Messi doesn't perform for Barcelona, Barcelona loses. If Dzeko doesn't perform for Roma loses. If Lukaku doesn't perform for Inter loses. Guys, so, the fact that we're losing, it's maybe even more due to Insigne than to Gattuso. I mean, those are the players that are on the field that are kicking the ball. So, for sure, there's issues with Gattuso, and I'm the first to point them out, as I did in my analysis at the start of the stream, but there's definitely issues with Insigne, and he needs to give us a bit more. When you've got Mertens and Osimhen out as well, well, then you're screwed. Because that's 3 players, not just 1. ID Beats is saying, I think we can win 17 out of the remaining 19 if Osimhen comes back in. That's a bit hopeful, in my opinion. I think on the return, we can get... I would be happy with 14 wins and maybe 3 draws and 2 losses. I think that could be a very, very good return half of the season. So I think with that, Napoli will definitely get Champions League football with that, and it's definitely doable. We were on that trajectory when Osimhen was around. So, just thinking in my head about where that would take us easily within the 80 points. 80 points, and usually titles are decided at 88, 89. I think this year that's going to be roughly the case. So Napoli, I think if they do something like that, they're going to be close enough to the title, maybe within a shout, and definitely top 4. But we need to do that. That it's all nice and well saying it, but if you don't do that, then it's useless. Arman is saying, Osimhen isn't our savior. Winning a game takes more than a striker, especially coming off an injury. I have a bad feeling this season is getting out of hand. It's true. That's what I'm saying. We can't rely on Osimhen because he's coming back from injury. But hold on, because we started playing badly when Osimhen got injured. I mean, our whole attack was based off Osimhen, which is an issue with the team. It's an issue with Gattuso, but that's just a fact. Osimhen provided us with so much, he stretched out defenses, he made runs, he flicked on passes, and he was a real trouble to a lot of different defenses out there. They couldn't handle his speed. So, I'd like to think of, how many titles would Barca have won if Messi was injured for 3 months? Or would Juve have won last year over Lazio if Ronaldo was injured 3 months? There's no way. So, obviously one player is not everything, but it is the difference between an extra 10 points and 10 points less. So, that's, if he can solve 3 games for you, let's imagine 3 games that are 0-0 and he resolves them for you, that's an extra 6 points that he is giving you. So, and that's just talking about 3 games out of the next 20 available. So he can definitely make or break the season. He's saying if they feed him enough balls in the midfield. Yeah, but Osimhen is a type of player that when he's playing, he's going to stretch out the defense. The defense is going to follow Osimhen, create a lot of gaps for Mertens and Zielinski to run into. I suggest take a look at the video that I did of Napoli Parma, Napoli Atalanta. Those are 10-minute long videos with Osimhen playing in those videos, and you can see how his movements helped Napoli so much, and that's what we're really missing, because I think with Osimhen fit against this Verona team, we would have done a lot better than what we had with Petagna. Lawrence Moore saying Osimhen isn't R9 or Maradona. This season is going down the drain. Guys, of course I'm not saying he's R9 or Maradona. We don't need that either. We don't need that. We've played 3 months without Osimhen and we're still roughly within 6 points of Milan if we can beat Juventus. And Milan's first. So we don't need someone to give us 20 points. I'm talking someone that can give us an extra 6 or 8 in the return 20 games left. And definitely Osimhen, if he was playing the last 3 months, we would have had 6 more points. We would have beat Spezia. We would have beat Torino. For sure, guys. Like, I don't even know how this is an issue. I think it's quite obvious, I don't think he was useless, or maybe I missed something. But if that's what you guys are thinking, then that's fair enough. Everyone has their opinion. I guess we'll see, because the stats with and without Osimhen are drastic. They are very drastic. Daniel is saying, how should we approach Coppa game on Thursday? Guys, Coppa game on Thursday, play Elmas in his right position, rest Zielinski. I think maybe squeeze out Petagna one last time. Let him play one last time. Make sure that Mertens and Osimhen get a bit more rest, but take him off at the hour mark, because I want to see one of them start in the next Serie A game for sure. And I think in the midfield, give Bakayoko a rest, play Lobotka, play Demme. I think he's been playing well, but definitely Zielinski needs a rest. At the right, play Izai. On the left, play Mairarui. Let's attack Spezia. Let's not be too defensive down that left-hand side, but definitely give Di Lorenzo a rest. I know he rested recently, but let's give him a bit more, because it's just Spezia, and Izai has been playing well. He's had a good game today, so let's give Izai a shot, and definitely let's play Meret in goal, because he deserves it. Because Meret, I think, needs more continuity within this team. So that's how I would play. And obviously Lozano needs to play. I would play Lozano on the left and put Politano on the right. Bench Insigne for sure. For sure, Insigne needs to be benched. So, and if he starts and plays well, great. But I think that's not resolving the issue long term. I think long term, Napoli do need to send him a message, send him a signal that, hey, what you've done the past month is really not good enough for us. Anyways, guys, so I think we've covered everything for today's video right now. Hopefully Osimhen proves some of you guys wrong. Maybe you guys are right. I mean, I hope you guys are not right, but you guys may be right. I'm not saying I know more than you. I just want you guys to be wrong, because I want Osimhen to do well for us, is what I'm trying to say. But we'll see. He's still injured. You saw his movements today were not good, but we'll see in the next few weeks, guys. Anyways, make sure that if you've liked this video and you stuck around for the whole hour, or even just a minute, even if you just joined now, smash that like button, because that really helps me out, guys. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre.